Hello, small children. Welcome to Team Rosemary. Today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on Majespecters, but it's not just Majespecters, it's also Magicians and Format Pals, because if you play Majespecters, you know how slow the deck is, and you know how inconsistent it is. So you have to play other engines to speed it up and get it to where you can actually play competitively, honestly. So just gonna start. Right up here we have 3 the Dragon Pit. This card's pretty good, honestly. It's a scale 8 and it's generic, and it's searchable off of Pendulum Call and Odd Eyes Dragon, so you can get your high scales as quickly as possible. Because honestly, you want to summon Unicorn without tributing, and that's what your high scales are for. So you have 3 of that, and then you have 3 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Yeah, three of this card. It's pretty essential. It searches 90% of your deck because all your match specters are really low, and also searches this guy and a lot of the components of your Form Pal engine as well, like Monkey Board. So you want to have this at 3, and also a Sky Iris. You can do some really dumb plays, get like your key pieces into your hand as quickly as possible. And then we have 2 Unicorn. I've seen some builds who only play 1 of this, but those builds are usually pure builds, so they can't actually pendulum the Unicorn. So I feel like if you can summon the Unicorn without tributing, it's worth playing more than 1 of it, because this card is really ridiculous. Because you can't target it, you can't destroy it, and once per you can bounce anything, pretty much, as long as it can be targeted. So like, no destroyers. You can bait out destroyers in the Cosmo matchup. You can get rid of Dante's before they mill, because it's during another player's turn. And you can pretty much get rid of any problematic card without destroying it, which is really useful in this format. You play 2 Oak Dragon. This is your other magician you'll search off of Pendulum Call. I only play 2 because it's honestly not that great, and you have a lot of low scales already. So it's really only useful for being searched off Pendulum Call. And it's also a wind spellcaster, so you can treat it for your spells and traps, like Tempest and Training, all that stuff. So I found that out, and I thought that was pretty great. But other than that, there's no reason to play 3 of it. And then 1 Monkey Board, because 1 card scales are pretty good in Yu-Gi-Oh! From what I hear. And it can search a lot of the deck, because you can get your Unicorn, which is your high scale, or if you just need more 4s in your hand, you can add the Camel that I also play. That's pretty decent. 1 Luster, because Konami doesn't let us have nice things, like 3 Lusters, so you'll only get 1 of this guy. But Ignister's a pretty good card, and this is the best way of summoning that in Majespecters, so you play 1 of him. 1 Joker, because 1 card scales are pretty good. 2 QB, because a searchable Solemn Strike is pretty good. And then also the Trap that Banishes isn't bad either, but honestly you want the strike as quickly as possible to get like your control engine going. And then 2 of the Camel, just for a searchable level 4 off of Monkey Board, and it's also searchable off of Odd Eyes, if that's irrelevant for some reason, and off of Joker. 3 of the best card in the deck, Raccoon, gets you any card in your Majespecter engine that you really need. So you can get you can normal summon it off and then get your Unicorn, and then pendulum that, which you can't do in pure because your scales never go higher than 5 in pure. You can also add itself, which is pretty convenient, and there aren't a lot of cards in the game that can add themselves off of their searching effects, so that's pretty important. And then 2 Cat, honestly, just to round out the Majespecter engine. He himself isn't that great because it's at the end phase, but it does search anything you need. So if you open up subpar, you can always just normal summon him, set 1 of your traps or spells, and then add a Raccoon to your end phase to get your engine going next turn. 3 of the Odd Eyes Unicorn, because generic scale 8s are really good in this game. And it's searchable off of not only Monkey Board and Joker, but also Sky Iris, which you have to play in this deck as well because of the Odd Eyes part of the engine. And you can also grab it off of Odd Eyes itself, which is pretty convenient. 3 Sky Iris. This card is what makes the deck playable, along with Raccoon, because it searches so many cards you need in your engine to go off. Odd Eyes, your Unicorn, and also your Odd Eyes Fusion, which is really good because Vortex Dragon just says no to a lot of decks at this point. 2 Twin Twisters. I would play 3, but I can't really find room in the engine, like between all 3 engines, to play 3 Twin Twisters. 2 should be all you really need because your Specters can't be targeted or traumatic card effects, which rules out a lot of background that you would be scared of this format, like Fog Blade or something like that. It doesn't get rid of your Specters aren't immune to Strike though, which is why you want to play the Twin Twisters at all to get rid of Strike and other summon negations. And then 2 Terraforming for your Sky Iris. You can't play. You don't need 3, but you want to be able to search your Sky Iris if possible. Only 2 Pendulum Call. That was honestly the weirdest thing about this deck that I really didn't like, but I had to go with anyway. Because you're only playing 2 copies of Oath Dragon, because the Magicians aren't that necessary. But you do want to be able to get to your scales if you can't otherwise, so you do want to play 2 of this. 1 Odd Eyes Fusion, because Vortex is pretty good, and it's effectively a Shaddoll Fusion if your opponent has monsters on board. And then for traps, you just do the 2 Tornado, because it targets, so it's not that great, but it banishes, so it's kind of good. It's really good in the Burning Abyss matchup, gets rid of Dante's, gets rid of Beatrice's pretty conveniently. And then your 3 copies of Solemn Strike, which are Tempest, which are searchable off of your Cat and also your QB. It wins Pendulum games, it stops monster effects, and summons. It's literally Solemn Strike at the cost of a win spellcaster. It wins Pendulum matchups, it wins against Cosmos, it doesn't really do that great against Burning Abyss, but it's still better than nothing against them. But honestly, against Burning Abyss, you want to rely more on your Tornado than your Tempest. But, so yeah, that's the main deck. And then extra deck, we're doing 1 Dinosaur, because you're only playing 1 Luster, and you're not doing a Draco Engine, so you can only maybe ever summon 1 of these a game. 1 Vortex, because Vortex is pretty good, and you've had Fusion for that. 1 Ignister, because, again, you only have... Well, Ignister's only at 1, and you only have 1 Luster, so not as reliable, but still pretty good if you can get it off. 1 Absolute, because you play the 3 Odd Eyes and the 3 Dragon Pit, so rank 7s are still within your like realm of possibility on that one. Honestly, the best play with Absolute is summoning it off of 2 Odd Eyes or whatever, and then trading it for Unicorn, and then getting a Vortex from extra deck. But that's really dumb, and I would not recommend that. But it's like a dank play you can do. 1 Beyond, because any deck that plays Odd Eyes and can make your opponent's monsters attack be 0. That's a really good combination. So you can like summon him using your Unicorns or your Oath Dragons, and then go into this, and then summon your Odd Eyes, and then swing for 5,000, which is pretty good. 1 Trapeze Magician, because again you're playing Odd Eyes, so if you can swing twice with a twice battle damage monster, that's pretty that's really good, honestly. And then generic stuff: 1 Castel, 1 Chidori, because you're playing in mostly wins. 1 Magister, because you're playing Pendulums. 1 Emerald, because you're playing a lot of 1-offs, both in the main deck and the extra deck, so being able to recycle this is really nice. And then for rank 3s, because the Majespecters are rank 3s, are level 3s, 1 Acid Golem, 1 Nightmare Shark. This thing wins games. Like, it's effectively a 2k Cowboy if they can't stop it. You just summon this, swing directly, and then, like, you don't care if they have a Dante or a Dark Destroyer. If you get them that low, you just swing with that and you win the game. 1 Totem Bird, because spell amplification is always good. 1 Grand Pulse, because you don't like Floodgates. Like, this deck loses to Massive Restrict, and people side deck that for Monarchs, so they're probably going to side deck it against you. So you want to be able to get rid of it on demand, if you can. That's kind of what the Twisters are for, but if you don't have access to that, you have access to Grand Pulse. And then, I play the 1 Engineer. I don't really like it, but I can't think of anything else to play in this extra deck, and you honestly don't rely on it that much, so you can pretty much play whatever you want in the extra deck. As far as your last card goes, I just like Engineer. And yeah, no side deck because I haven't built one yet, and that's about it.